Artificial intelligence, with its vast applications, is set to bring about a structural transformation in national security. South Africa now has an AI institute dedicated to the defence and military sector. Communications Minister Mondli Gungubele has officially launched the Defence Artificial Intelligence Research Unit at the Academy in Saldanha Bay in the Western Cape.
Africa's top military powers have just been ranked, and the results are both shocking and revealing. Egypt still dominates, but the continent's defense landscape is far more complex than numbers and budgets alone. From North Africa's fortified giants to West Africa's battle-hardened armies, each country tells a story of strategy, survival, and raw influence. Global Firepower's 2025 assessment shows that power isn't just about jets, tanks, or billions of dollars. It's about how effectively a nation can wield its military when the stakes are highest, whether that's defending borders, projecting influence, or surviving daily conflicts. Nigeria fights every day. South Africa innovates quietly. Algeria builds a silent fortress. Ethiopia commands through sheer manpower. The question now, who truly holds Africa's top military crown, and what makes them untouchable? Stay tuned as we break down the top 10 African militaries of 2025, revealing surprises you won't see coming. Let's get started. Picture a nation where military parades feel like theater, where fighter jets cut through Cairo's sky like signatures on history, and where every soldier stands not just as a defender, but as a symbol. That's Egypt, the undisputed heavyweight of African military power. But here's the twist. It didn't become number one by accident. It became number one because it fears being anything else. Egypt leads the 2025 ranking like it's defending a title belt. It has around 440,000 active personnel, but that's just the muscle. The real power comes from the balance: mountains of tanks, modernized air fleets, a navy that controls choke points in the Mediterranean, and a defense budget hovering near $5.88 billion. That's not just spending, that's strategy. But here's where the dance begins. Egypt is powerful, but it is surrounded by insecurity, Libya, Sudan, Gaza, and the Red Sea tension. Every border is a story. Every story is a threat. Therefore, Egypt keeps expanding, modernizing, and projecting power abroad. Stability at home requires dominance everywhere else. And yes, Egypt likes being seen. It wants you to know it's strong. That's why its military is one of the most frequently showcased on social media. Parades, UN missions, and even joint exercises with superpowers' image is a weapon too.
You know, the military in Egypt has a very good history, patriotic, like in Tunisia. The military is not supposed to protect the president. They are supposed to protect the people.
Yet beneath all the optics lies a deeper truth. Egypt doesn't just want to be first, it needs to be. Its history, geography, and politics demand it. For them, military strength is national survival. Weakness isn't an option. That's the rhythm that drives every budget decision, every procurement, every training cycle. So here's the real question. If Egypt is the strongest military in Africa on paper and in power, who could challenge them? If Egypt is the loud, visible champion, then Algeria is the quiet one that keeps winning without raising its voice. Algeria does not crave attention, and that's exactly what makes it terrifying. It's the country that rarely speaks, rarely shows off, but spends more than almost everyone else in Africa, around $25 billion in 2025, more than 4 times Egypt's budget. That's not a typo, that's a message. Algeria's military logic is simple. Prepare for war so you never have to fight one. Their borders touch Morocco, Western Sahara tensions, and the Mediterranean, a sea watched closely by Europe, NATO, and global powers. Algeria doesn't trust easily, it never has. Therefore, it maintains one of the largest and most modern land forces on the continent, backed by Russian and Chinese equipment, including tanks, advanced air defense systems, drones, and strike aircraft. But here comes the tension. Algeria rarely intervenes outside its borders. Its power is defensive, not expansionist. It is a fortress, not an empire. While Egypt projects its influence, Algeria consolidates it. While others send troops abroad, Algeria builds deeper arsenals at home. One plays chess on the table, the other guards the board itself. And the people? Algeria's military is deeply tied to national identity. Veterans, conscripts, reserves. The army isn't just an institution, it's a backbone. With a large active and reserve force and one of the strongest air forces in Africa, Algeria has quietly positioned itself as the only realistic rival to Egypt's dominance. The rhythm here is cold, deliberate, and relentless. Money into weaponry, weaponry into deterrence, deterrence into stability. No theatrics, no parades for the world, just steel, silence, and readiness. Which leads us to the real question. If Algeria is arming itself like a superpower but rarely fights, then what exactly is it preparing for? If Algeria is a fortress and Egypt an empire, Nigeria is the battlefield itself. Every day, somewhere in the northeast, the forests, swamps, and villages of Borno or Yobe transform into classrooms where soldiers learn in fire, blood, and chaos. Unlike Egypt, which projects power, or Algeria, which prepares for war, Nigeria experiences war, constantly, mercilessly, and on multiple fronts. Nigeria's military strength comes first from its people. Roughly 230,000 active personnel, thousands of paramilitary officers, and millions in reserves make it one of Africa's largest standing armies. But here's the difference. These numbers are not theoretical. Each soldier carries lessons from real insurgencies, kidnappings, and raids, lessons that no simulator, textbook, or training camp can replicate. They've had many militant groups for over a decade. They've lost comrades, rebuilt units, and adapted strategies on the fly. Experience has become the secret weapon. Yet Nigeria faces contradictions. Its troops are battle-hardened but stretched thin. Equipment exists, but much of it is outdated or poorly maintained. Budgets hover near $3.16 billion, smaller than Algeria's or Morocco's. So the army improvises, innovates, and relies on sheer human endurance. Its advantage? Every victory, every repelled attack, and every life saved on home soil strengthens the army's resolve and reputation. Power here is psychological as much as physical, and Nigeria is not content to defend its borders alone. Its soldiers rotate in regional peacekeeping missions, participate in multinational task forces, and influence West African stability. Its battlefield is local, yet its influence is continental. But if experience and manpower are powerful, what happens when you combine human ingenuity with technology? That's where South Africa enters, a smaller army, but one designed not for quantity, but for precision, innovation, and long-range impact. If Nigeria is the battlefield, then South Africa is the laboratory. Here, power is not measured by how many boots hit the ground, but by how smart the boots are, and what tools they carry. South Africa doesn't rely on mass. It relies on precision, technology, and innovation. It's a military that thinks 5 steps ahead, builds its own weapons, and trains troops to use them like a scalpel instead of a hammer. South Africa's armed forces are smaller than Nigeria's or Egypt's, but every unit is highly professional, trained, and equipped to handle both conventional warfare and peacekeeping operations. Its Air Force flies Gripen fighter jets, capable of regional dominance, while the Navy operates submarines and advanced patrol vessels across the Indian and Atlantic Oceans. On land, mechanized infantry, drones, and self-produced artillery systems give them tactical flexibility that larger armies often lack.
By fire, moving out of the situation through fire, as the will of surviving, it will kick in.
You must certainly miss your partner and your children.
Of course, yes, I miss them a lot. I miss them a lot, but they understand that I'm a soldier, I have to answer the call.
And here's the twist. South Africa doesn't just use technology, it creates it. The country has one of Africa's few indigenous defense industries, producing armored vehicles, drones, and artillery systems that are sold domestically and exported internationally. Where other countries buy off-the-shelf solutions, South Africa builds and adapts, which creates a distinct edge in innovation, independence, and operational flexibility. But even brilliance has constraints. South Africa's budget, around $2.27 billion, is modest compared to Algeria or Morocco. Internal political shifts, economic pressure, and social instability can slow modernization. Yet the rhythm of its military is consistent. Think, adapt, build, execute. It is patient. It is deliberate. This combination of brains, machines, and strategy is exactly what sets South Africa apart. A military that doesn't dominate by size, but by quality, foresight, and engineering excellence. It's a reminder that in modern warfare, being smart can outweigh being big. And yet, not every military relies on technology. Some rely on history, terrain, and sheer manpower to hold power. That brings us to Ethiopia, the human fortress of the Horn of Africa. If South Africa wields technology like a scalpel, Ethiopia wields people like a wall. Here, manpower is not just a resource, it's the backbone of national survival. Ethiopia has one of Africa's largest standing armies, and its history proves that it's a force shaped not by machines or budgets, but by resilience, terrain, and sheer human will. Ethiopia's military is primarily land-focused, built to defend its rugged mountains, valleys, and plateaus. Infantry units, artillery battalions, and massive reserves form a network capable of mobilizing hundreds of thousands when necessary. In Ethiopia, the soldier is not just trained, he or she is molded by geography itself. Mountain warfare, rapid deployment across harsh terrain, and endurance in extreme conditions create troops that are difficult to outmaneuver. This is a military honed by history. From defending against colonial invasions to regional conflicts, Ethiopia has survived through organization, mobilization, and persistence. But here's the tension. Ethiopia lacks the budgets and high-tech equipment of North Africa's powers. Its defense spending is roughly $2.1 billion, modest compared to Egypt, Algeria, or Morocco. So technology often plays second fiddle to strategy, terrain advantage, and human numbers. Yet in its context, that's enough. Numbers, discipline, and motivation are weapons in their own right, capable of shaping outcomes even against better-equipped opponents. Ethiopia also demonstrates a paradox. While technology dominates headlines, history, terrain, and population can level the playing field. An army doesn't need jets or missiles to influence regional power if it can defend its land, sustain itself, and project manpower when required. Ethiopia proves that resilience, population, and tactical intelligence form a combination that cannot be ignored, but manpower alone does not modernize a nation. For that, you need resources, post-conflict planning, and strategic investment. That's exactly what Angola is attempting after decades of war, slowly building itself into a modern military contender. Let's pause for a second to say, big thank you to the Black Culture Diary community, where Black voices, stories, and legacies are preserved and amplified. By becoming a member, you're not just supporting the channel, you're becoming part of a powerful cultural movement. Let's continue. Angola is a story of resurrection. After decades of brutal civil war, the nation emerged battered, scarred, and exhausted. But instead of collapsing under the weight of its past, Angola chose to rebuild strategically, investing in military modernization and infrastructure, quietly reshaping itself into one of Africa's rising defense powers. It's a military that understands patience, strength built piece by piece, not overnight. Angola's armed forces are structured to emphasize land dominance, border security, and internal stability. The army remains the centerpiece, but modest air and naval components are steadily growing. The government has focused on importing advanced aircraft, armored vehicles, and logistical systems, creating a foundation for a force that is both disciplined and capable. Angola is not the flashiest military. There are no grand parades designed for the world stage, but its rebuilding is methodical, deliberate, and long-term. The budget tells part of the story. At roughly $1.1 billion, Angola does not have the vast resources of Algeria or Morocco. But what it lacks in quantity, it makes up for in strategic allocation. Every dollar spent is carefully planned, every unit trained for specific operational roles, and every modern acquisition integrated into a broader vision of national defense. Post-war Angola learned the hard way that unprepared militaries collapse. So today, modernization is not optional, it's existential. And here's the rhythm. Angola does not seek glory or headlines, It quietly strengthens its army, stabilizes its borders, and slowly builds operational capability. Unlike countries fighting ongoing conflicts, Angola invests in the future, ensuring that its military is ready not only for present challenges, but also for the geopolitical pressures that may come decades from now. But Angola's rise is not in isolation. Across North Africa, Morocco has been combining modernization, technology, and strategic geography to create a highly flexible military. While Angola climbs, Morocco already wields influence across seas and deserts. Here's a reminder to please like and share the video, and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on Black culture, history, civilization, and identity. Let's continue now. Morocco is a military built like a chess master, not a brute. Unlike Algeria, which relies on sheer numbers and budget, or Nigeria, forged in daily combat, Morocco combines strategy, technology, and geography to create one of Africa's most versatile armed forces. It's not just a military, it's a statement. Power doesn't have to be loud to be effective. Morocco maintains a large and well-equipped active force, supported by modernized tanks, armored vehicles, F-16 fighter jets, drones, and a capable navy patrolling both the Atlantic and Mediterranean coasts. Its defense budget of roughly $13.4 billion allows for advanced acquisitions while sustaining training programs that integrate technology with tactical innovation. Morocco's strength lies in balance. A military capable of defending borders, projecting power regionally, and adapting to both conventional and asymmetric threats. But the real genius is strategic positioning. Morocco's location at the crossroads of Africa and Europe, alongside the Strait of Gibraltar, gives it natural leverage over international maritime trade. Its armed forces are trained not just for conflict but for deterrence, signaling to neighbors and global powers alike that any misstep comes at a cost. Diplomacy and military capability are intertwined. Morocco doesn't just fight, it influences, negotiates, and shapes regional outcomes before bullets are even fired. Yet there's tension here. Morocco's modernization is deliberate but expensive. Its military is powerful, but its influence depends on foresight, alliances, and stability as much as it does on tanks or jets. Morocco demonstrates a lesson often overlooked. The most effective militaries aren't always the largest or the richest. They are the ones that combine resources, location, and technology with strategy, creating flexibility and influence that sheer numbers cannot achieve. But Morocco's approach contrasts sharply with countries like the Democratic Republic of Congo, whose power is mostly potential, resting on population and landmass rather than cohesion or modern equipment. If Morocco is the strategist, the Democratic Republic of Congo (DRC) is the giant that's asleep at the wheel. On paper, it is a colossus, vast land, abundant natural resources, and a population capable of generating millions of soldiers. Its military ranking in Africa is high, but the story behind the numbers is far more complicated. Power here is potential, not precision. The DRC's strength lies in its human reservoir. Active and reserve forces combine to form one of the continent's largest military populations. The army is sizable, and the country could, in theory, project influence far beyond its borders. But theory is where it ends. The DRC struggles with logistics, outdated equipment, and fractured command structures. Tanks rust in depots, radios fail, and coordination between units often collapses under pressure. Its budget, roughly $0.8 billion, is tiny for the scale of the forces it attempts to maintain. Money cannot fix every problem, and sheer manpower without structure often becomes more of a liability than a strength. Here's the tension. DRC's potential is undeniable. If fully organized and modernized, it could reshape Central African geopolitics. But history has a way of humbling giants. Persistent internal conflicts, political instability, and weak infrastructure prevent the army from becoming a true continental power. Its size intimidates on paper, yet operationally, it struggles to act decisively. And yet, there's something almost mythical about the DRC, a sense that beneath the chaos, a sleeping giant waits. Every neighboring nation knows that if the DRC ever consolidates its forces effectively, the balance of power in Africa could shift dramatically. It's a cautionary tale. Numbers alone do not equal dominance, but potential alone is fragile. For comparison, Sudan and Libya illustrate what happens when armies not only face internal division, but lack cohesive command entirely. Numbers and equipment mean little when no one is steering the ship. Sudan and Libya share a haunting lesson in military paradox. Strength without unity is fragile, even deadly. Both nations possess sizable armed forces, equipment, and historical presence, yet both are hampered by fractured leadership, internal conflict, and political instability. They sit at the lower end of the top 10 African militaries not because of weakness, but because chaos undermines their potential. Take Sudan. Its army is large and equipped for regional operations, and its paramilitary units give it considerable manpower. But the 2025 conflicts between the National Army and the Rapid Support Forces have shattered cohesion. Strategic planning falters when factions answer to different commands, and operational decisions often depend on shifting alliances rather than national interest. Despite soldiers, tanks, and artillery, the country struggles to present a unified front, internally or externally. Libya, too, tells a similar story. Legacy equipment, broad inventories of ground systems, and a sizable workforce on paper suggest power. Yet fragmented command structures and decades of conflict mean that these forces rarely operate as a coordinated whole. Air assets sit idle or are mismanaged. Tanks exist in depots rather than on effective patrols. Budgets, around $3.06 billion, are significant, but misallocated resources and political disarray prevent the military from achieving real influence. The tension is palpable. Equipment and manpower are useless if no one is steering the ship. Both nations highlight a stark reality. Power without governance collapses into vulnerability. Their militaries may intimidate on paper, but their fragmented leadership makes them unpredictable and less effective on the battlefield. And yet, their existence is a reminder. Africa's military landscape is not solely about size, technology, or spending. It's also about stability, strategy, and unified leadership. Without these pillars, even the most impressive armies falter. The story of Sudan and Libya leads to the ultimate truth about African militaries in 2025. The strongest military is not the one with the most money, the most soldiers, or the most equipment. It is the one capable of using all three when everything else falls apart. After exploring the top 10 militaries in Africa, one truth emerges clearly. The strongest army is not always the largest, the wealthiest, or the most technologically advanced. Egypt, Algeria, Nigeria, South Africa, Ethiopia, Angola, Morocco, DRC, Sudan, and Libya each tell a different story, some loud, some quiet, some chaotic. But the lesson is consistent. Military power is as much about leadership, cohesion, and readiness as it is about equipment or numbers. So here's the final question for reflection. What matters most in war? The size of your army, the sophistication of your equipment, or the unity and strategy that turns resources into real power? Let us know in the comment section. Do you think Africa can defend itself? Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If so, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We have decided to bring videos on something nobody talks about: the Black culture, civilization, history, and evidence about how glorious Blacks have been. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.